Hello again. Okay, so let's start this off by looking through the report. I should really look through this thing more often, but you get most of your backstory and other stuff that's going on from here. Personally, I feel like if they ever make a sequel or, potentially use this kind of method for stuff in the future, it would be really nice to have this set up in kind of the same way that one of the Armored Core games did it, Last Raven, in which you basically go and, like, let's say you go through a story fight, and then it just comes up with little notice here of, like, look, here's this many, updates about the world, here's a list of who's dead or alive, because it kind of had a similar thing to it, like, where you had basically, like, a list of all the pilots at the very start of it, and then you could just go take a peek at that list and, like, look, these ones are missing, these ones are confirmed destroyed, these guys defected to the, these other groups and stuff like that, and it was just a cool way of them doing it. So I feel like some kind of system like that for this would have made for kind of a better way of not missing Warren Report stuff. But at any rate, moving on. So they mentioned the Balmamusa massacre there. Yeah, and everyone who died was a Wallister, except they don't mention all the Galgasani that were killed on the way in. Oh well. Yeah. Retribution for the recapture of their castle. So, the guy's saying, no, I didn't do the war crimes, and he's actually right. Although he did so many war crimes and nobody's gonna listen. And then they had a revolt, and then they had a purge. So the rebellion got squashed, but they went ahead and, some defected, some tried to do a revolt. Didn't exactly go so hot, but still. And then this guy gets named a traitor, which is a bit of a thing. I guess they give him exactly one of these goth things for every inch in that friggin' shoulder belt he's got going on. That's one of the things. I understand most of the logic behind most of the, costumes and everything else, and a lot of them make a lot of sense. Most of them are relatively practical, not counting the female knights, because of what exactly happened there that they decided to show up in, like, fancy dresses and armor. Who really knows? Personally, I really like the ones from Night of Lotus a lot better, because basically all the classes were like, okay, they're a soldier, basic grunt guy, they're a knight, and both male and female versions looked pretty much the same. They had minor differences, their portraits were different. Like, that's their thing. That is that unit and that armor with that uniform. That's their thing. Not like the males show up in armor, the women show up in fancy dresses. Who knows? It's like the one class thing that's strikingly bizarre. But anyhow. So yeah, looking at his costume though, right? So his second one's pretty cool. It's like, his second one's just like, breastplate. Got some shoulder stuff going on, presumably some armor going on. It's like a tunic over it, kind of going for a long one. I forget the exact name of those, but they weren't terribly common. But it was like kind of like a riding trench coat, more or less. It was meant to be essentially like a long garb that you could still ride a horse with. That's why you usually see the two wings flapping off to the side instead of going straight down. But yeah, his early one here, he's got, like, I think my wife called it a shaw, but it's like a thing that, like, women have on dresses sometimes, where it's like the sleeves and a slight vest sort of thing going on. I don't know what's going on at the top there, and then he's got, like, a green sort of tunic underneath that, and then some kind of dress type situation underneath that. I mean, his necklace thing makes sense, but what the hell's going on with that belt? That thing's gotta weigh a ton. But anyway, moving on. I just wanted to point that out real quick. And then, yeah, so resistance happens. So they decided to mass up at Sanyi. And, yeah, basically they started taking over, put all of the yellow guys in their little triangle. So they're saying everything's gonna come to a head in the next few days. And this is the only time where you're actually locked in and you can't go and putz around wherever, so I kind of appreciate this detail. Because they basically say, within the next few days, and you can't waste any days here. Any other time, you're free to go spend years wandering the countryside. In this case, you gotta go fight Gamp. Now, equipment-wise, I haven't changed anyone's skills. Equipment-wise, I gave this guy a Jite, gave this guy his Way. Did I change anything else? Not really. Just minor upgrades. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna bank up points for now. Yeah, we're just gonna bank points for the moment. And unlock what is probably my favorite grinding spot. So we're gonna actually replace Warren. He's gonna eat up a bunch of experience later, but for now we need 2 archers. Basically, this is like I said, this is my favorite grinding spot. Early game, anyway. So before Farampa ends up getting unlocked, this is like base game. This was my go-to spot, because you could go and repeatedly get like 2 or 3 octopi in here, and you could train up Denim to get his skills up against beast units and everything. And they generally had pretty low loyalty, so you could very consistently get a crap ton of octopi. So that's basically what I'm going to do. Can't get him this fight though. I think yeah, he has Subdue. We're gonna take a look at these real quick. Also, not Gamp, this is Zappin. He's like crappier Gamp. Right. So that one's content. So that one is pissed. So Portheus is probably going to be the one to go for. The nice thing is, in this version you can get their health down a lot easier. Since a lot more units can potentially damage them, you don't have to worry about getting all the heavy guys out in order to actually take down a beast or dragon unit. And they've got a lot more health, so you can get their percentages down more precisely. Those bird guys hopefully won't matter much. They're relatively weak in one vision. Basically, their flying ability has caused them to lose a bunch of points. They're quite a bit more fragile, they're less offensive, which is nice. They're not just flat-out upgrades to human units, which was kind of the case before. Also, I missed out on using a Vulcan Lance there. Oh well. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. As usual, Terra Knight comes to block the way. Now, one thing I'd like to see, I don't see how this can be implemented, but if, you know, just kind of throwing it out there, if it's possible, is there any way to, for the very first round, essentially start everyone more or less maxed out on their RT? Like, I just feel like the frontliner units, knights and such, they never exactly get to where you want them to be before everybody else. So light units always start moving first. You can never quite get them where you want them. Like, a lot of times I want to have the knight out first, and it just doesn't quite happen. So I may end up blocking off their spot because everyone else is moving first. Now granted, this is more an issue for the unaware. You know, not terribly good at paying attention to everything that's going on. But, I don't know. It feels like it would be satisfying to have the knights move first. As previously mentioned, I don't really see how that would be a possibility, though. So, if it's not, it's not. What can I say? Alright, so we're gonna block off this spot right here, because I want him to have some options. 53, dang. Felix, why are you so good? Eesh. Seriously, I have no idea why he's so friggin' strong compared to everyone else. Because the Fencer isn't like a terribly beefy class, they're the hybrid. Not that, I think he's just got really good setups for his skills or whatever. Just like Voltaire appears to be very good at blocking stuff. Although, that appears to be his base game thing too. Actually, base game, if you ever wanted a Terra Knight that didn't suck, you could always use Voltaire. He was very good at it. Consistently good. That's what I've been doing on that base game Ironman run, and yeah, no problems. No problems whatsoever. He's actually been one of the more durable units. Looking around for that scroll button that doesn't exist anymore. It hasn't existed for quite a while, but you know. Okay, what else are we doing here? Your safety laws are nil. You have a cleanse? No, you don't. Let's have you move over here. Possibly go in for some poison claws on the side here. Dang. That's just nuts. So apparently, it's a kind of a nuts piece of news, but if you've ever watched Person of Interest, China made that thing. Basically, the entirety of Person of Interest is about, essentially, a guy makes a machine. The machine is just going around predicting what people are going to cause crimes and whatever else, and acts accordingly. And the whole shtick of the show is, they're like, oh, it's going to prevent all the tourism and whatever else. And then it just, like, winds up going around and, well, it sort of works, but then it starts getting overzealous over the course of the show. And somebody ends up, you know, messing with the thing, and the whole moral is basically, hey, you know, we don't need friggin' superpowers or whatever. So yeah, the majority of the show is just like a more or less forcibly retired secret agent whatever guy going around and doing the whole Scooby-Doo thing with a scientist and an assassin. And it's a fun show to watch. But yeah, the whole thing, like I said, the crux of the show is just they have this machine that predicts people's actions. So, you know, they're like, okay, this guy's gonna go... They just get like a social security number or whatever, and they're like, okay, this person's gonna do something, and or they're gonna be the victim of something. They don't know what the something is, when it's happening, why they're doing it, whatever, and so they're going around, they're like, okay, who is this person? Are they the bad guy? Are they the good guy? Fun setup. Like I was saying, so China made a machine that is supposed to go around predicting what people are gonna do. Essentially predicting people that are gonna commit crimes before they do. That sounds horrific. Because, how exactly do you test that? So, that sounds very much like, hey, we're gonna do whatever, because our thingy said so. So, I don't know. That's probably gonna cause problems. But, who knows? Maybe maybe it'll work. You know? Maybe they'll have created the future or something. Kind of curiosity what happens if not. Worth a shot. Do I have any anti-poison? Because I don't think I have any anti-poison. I don't. I'm gonna have to heal you, aren't I? Alright. I'm gonna heal this guy. And then hit him again so that the poison doesn't finish him off. Gonna do that whole situation. Alrighty. Why don't we just item heal then? Sounds like a good plan. And that involves good things. Oh yes. Alright, Terranite's unlocked. Kind of a shame. Original game, you could actually unlock Terranites by being a douchebag and going for the genocide route. But this time around, you just kind of get them here regardless. So, there's that. And that one, like, originally you had to have a unit that got a certain amount of kills. They had to pretty much be an actual crazy person. But they caused debuffs to everybody that's around. Oof. Okay, that did not work out. Right. So in some ways, that's kind of how they justified them being weak. Like, if they got close, they were able to overpower a lot of other units. But more likely than not, they just ended up getting finished off at range, and so it was kind of pointless. Base game lucked. They were workable, but basically a hybrid that they couldn't really hybrid. I don't know. I think that's the best way to put it. Because they were supposed to be like a caster hitter, but you kind of needed them to be sword and board in order to, well, make up for their horrible defense. And you couldn't really pull off that very often without a special unit. A lot of their casting abilities were kind of situational. But again, it just depended. Like, if you had a good unit for it, if you had a special unit or whatever, you could usually do some pretty decent stuff with them. They're a fun class. Alright, so Zapan... You know what? We'll just have Rosalia here, pecking away at him. They item heal. So if I can get him surrounded, that should overwhelm that item heal. I really wish Denim would just take his turn so that he could talk to this friggin' octopus already. But he's taking forever. See. Seem to be okay not running into a slog yet, though. I mean, overall, we're slowly but surely crushing through. Right. Finally. Right. If he joins, good. If he doesn't, goodbye. Actually, screw it. Best of both worlds. Now, if you're thinking, wow, that's dumb, why'd you do that? Well, for one thing, I can evacuate him if needed. For another thing, I may not necessarily be using Octopi. We'll see. Basically, I'm expecting to be able to take out Zapan first, and I kind of just wanted some extra spear skill on him. Because that octopus is just going to be sold. If I end up using him later, then I will. But that one is just for selling. He is meat. Alright, I'm gonna have to put a quick break here, though, because sounds like the little one's upset. Sounds like she just got up from her nap, so I'll see you next time.